Ellen Rohr, welcome to Contractor Stories. How are you?
I'm well. And Jim, I love so much the opportunity to be here and visit with you. You do so much for us. You have the brightest minds on your show. We all get to learn from the conversations that you have. I am honored to be here.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm honored to have you, Ellen. We've known each other for a period of time. I say that it's been a handful of years. We get to see each other 3-4 times a year at events. I love what you do. And a question that always comes up is, where does Ellen get all her energy? And I've never seen you down, which I'm sure you have been. We get blue sometimes. We're not always up, but you're always positive and up, and you're in great physical condition. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I think that was a choice I made. I think once upon a time, my grandmother lived with us and she was in terrible shape. And I just really had an impact on me. Like, I do not want that to happen to me. So as a kid, I started running when I was 13 years old, and I've been a runner ever since. So running gave me a way to mitigate this wild energy that I kind of naturally had, so that, I know that I need to get some exercise in just to kind of bring me to normal is really something I learned early on. And I commit to it. I work on bringing energy to the party. It's a gift that I have, and I am happy to share it. I don't know everything. I know that I can bring energy, not take energy from a situation. And that's what I try to do.
You bring energy. When you walk into the room and you're walking on stage, I can feel the energy in the room. Do you find your discipline in your ability to stay physically fit and to stay positive has helped you in your career as well?
Oh, yeah. I think that's why people ask me to do anything. And, growing up, my family really prioritized having fun. Not everybody does. And I have a complicated childhood like everybody else does. But it is our legacy in my family is that if it's fun, if we're going to laugh, we're going to prioritize it. And to this day, that's, what I count on my family to do. In my family, Jim, I'm not seen as like a super energetic person. I'm one of the group. It is a place where I feel quite normal, when sometimes I feel a little abnormal
Sure.
coming into a situation. But I think it's a responsibility to be happy, and I take that responsibility seriously.
Yeah. And, some people say fake it till you make it. That's not what I'm talking about here. It's really kind of an attitude. When you get out of bed in the morning, you have a decision. So if you get out of bed and stub your toe, you can have a really bad day because you decide to, or you can say, you know what? I'm going to leave that stub toe behind and I'm going to have a positive day.
100%. I try to. I relapse every day, every moment. There's moments where I relapse, but I try to live in now. Like, the point of power is now, and let's go forward. So that is a reminder all the time. Also, I try not to go too far down the chessboard. What I found in my career is that smarts aren't everything. I read a book. I read a Ray Kroc story about McDonald's.
The
Not the
founder.
brightest guy. Not the brightest guy. Really just dealt with what, put the vision out there and then dealt with what was in front of him. Um, uh, Time to Make the Donuts, Bill Rosenberg,
Yeah.
the Dunkin'
Dunkin'
Donuts
Donuts.
guy.
I used to love those.
Not the brightest guy. He just would, like, he knew what he wanted, and then something would come and he'd deal with it right then. And what I've noticed about a lot of really successful people is they don't fuss about the past. And, they just deal with what happens in the present. That is a really good skill to develop. And I've tried to do that.
Did you always know you wanted to be in home service? I know we're taking kind of a big change here of questioning, but I mean, obviously, when people see you at an event, you're really synonymous with contractors and home service. I'm sure when you grew up, you probably had no idea, right?
When I was 8 years old, I really wanted to be a commercial heating specialist in hydronic heat. No, none of that happened. In fact, when I was a kid, I wanted to be an actress. I was a theater kid. And I've always liked, take my picture, be in this. If there were an empty parking lot with a box in it, I would go stand on that box.
Mm.
That's always really been, I always wanted to be on stage and the center of attention. Never not like that. But I married a plumber. And that's how I got turned on to this life. And when I was growing up, we called people. I didn't know anything about the trades. And then I marry my husband, and I get to hang out with him and his cool friends. And I'm smart. I started to figure out the mechanics of what they did. I'd go on job sites and watch how the plumbing went in, the sub rough, the rough, the finish. I saw it come together. I saw what the HVAC guys and the electrical guys did. And I just am in awe of technicians. Like, I really fell in love with the trade for the same reasons I love my husband, is they know how to do stuff and I don't. So I feel like a big part of my responsibility in this world is to be a champion of tradespeople.
Yeah. This is a question that I don't generally ask, but I hear a lot of people ask this question of others. Do you feel like you're an imposter? Meaning, do you feel as though you aren't supposed to be in the trades, but you are?
When you said earlier, fake it till you make it, I don't love that expression because it sounds a bit just duplicitous, but I like this expression, assume the mantle.
Mm-hmm.
I think we put on the mantle of things. And so what I've tried to be more than anything else is self-aware of what I can do and what I can't do. Stephen Covey says, run with your strengths and organize to overcome your weaknesses. I don't feel compelled to improve in areas where I have no natural ability or affinity. I feel like I'm going to bring what I can to the party. And then I love the collaborative effort. I love young people. I love, a creative idea. Even, when you and I talk, it's better than if I just spoke into the microphone, right? Which I've made that mistake many times in my life. But the collaboration is where the really good stuff is. And I think that that's what I've tried to do. So yeah, I feel like an imposter all the time. And then assume the mantle. What is it that I need to bring to the party right now? And I'll do that. And then let's see what else we can put into the soup.
Ellen, I would say no one feels that you are an imposter, but sometimes we ourselves have this feeling of, how did I get here? And am I supposed to be here? Here I am on stage. There are 500 people out there and they're listening to what I say, and I'm just me.
Uh-huh.
But if you're on stage and 500 people are listening to you, there must be something to it.
Well, and think of it this way too. Like when I like watching awards shows. I think we should do that. If we did award shows for technicians like we do for actors,
mm-hmm.
I think we could overcome some of the self-esteem issues in our industry. Like if we really acknowledged, what they do. And I always think too, when I watch the Oscars and somebody gets up there, oh, I don't have anything prepared. Well, you had a 1 in 5 chance of being up there. Prepare something because you do have this audience. So at that point, I think you assume the mantle of, I should say something. And people say, well, those guys shouldn't say anything political. Sure, say something political. Say something that you've got prepared and let people accept it or not, or, respond to it as they will. But I think that, when you have a voice, your intention is to use it to communicate in a powerful and positive way. I fail at that, but I understand the responsibility of that.
Ellen, who was your biggest influence growing up?
It was definitely my family. I did feel like I had this tribe of siblings, and it was us versus the world in many, many ways. And I do remember great writers. I'm a reader, and I started reading really fantastical books like J.R.R. Tolkien and Mary Stewart, the Merlin series, and just understand, like, it was like I recognized the magic. I don't know how else to say that. Like they see it like I see it. Like I had this moment of recognition with someone who can really write a beautiful descriptive paragraph. And that really keyed into my creativity. Now, when I got to business, things changed. Like most business books are not written well, including mine. They're just like information delivered. I'm not Steinbeck, but I can put noun verb together, right? And that's
Sure.
what a business book is generally. It's going to be the information. And my world rocked when I read Michael Gerber's The E-Myth. You read that, I'm sure. Oh, you know Michael Gerber.
I know Michael. Michael's going to be on the podcast shortly, of course, and everyone knows the E-Myth.
Yeah. That shifted everything for me because I didn't have that construct before I read that book of that you work on your business, not in your business, that there's systems that make up for, because before then I just thought it was people letting me down.
Well, there's always some of that too, Ellen. Okay.
There's that too,
always
sure.
some of that. There is. Ellen, and you can think about this question a bit. And I think it's a fair question. And not everyone wants to recognize this.
I love the way you set up a question.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
What is your biggest regret?
As someone who doesn't live in the past much, I would say like getting older makes you realize there's no wasted moments. Like if that summer goes, I remember seeing something on Instagram. I learn everything from Instagram now, where someone said that last day that you and your friends rode your bikes around the neighborhood, you didn't know it was going to be the last day. Like to really, I think living in the present is such an important discipline. And it really is a discipline to have, one day at a time, one moment at a time. These are such good maxims to live by. But I think that I regret when I was younger, wanting to be older, wanting things to be different, being very frustrated with the present. And now when I look back, it was all fine. So I think that must be something that comes with age. I think just to be really connected to when you see your grandkid, make it the moment when you see your kids light up like a dog lights up when you walk into the room. I learned that from Instagram too. But to be really present in the moment, I think I spent a lot of time trying to be elsewhere. When I know that's general, not a specific regret, but overall, I think I wasted time.
To be fair to you, Ellen, and to everybody else who's nodding their head, when we're younger, I'm not going to say we were foolish, even though we were with many things. We just weren't as seasoned and mature as we are today. And, hindsight is 2020. So my point is I have the same thoughts. I wouldn't necessarily call them regrets for me. I'm kind of making up for it now. But if I could go back in time to my 21-year-old self, I would say, hey, Jim, here's the deal, okay? You should take a little bit more time today in the present. Don't worry about what happened in high school, and don't worry about where you're going to retire, okay? Don't worry about the future so much. Plan for the future. Don't worry about it. Can't do anything about the past. Live for today, and I've got a list of many other things. Eat better, exercise more, stay away from toxic people. but so, I'm in the same generation as you are, Ellen, and I have to say that I really kind of like this time of life because I feel I understand where I am, where I'm going, and the past, there's not much I can do but learn from it, and we need to live for today, because tomorrow is not promised. So it's all about now.
100%. It really is. I am less attached to the reaction or the outcome so much more so than when I was younger. Can I share what I'm most proud of?
Absolutely.
Okay. So in my professional career, I've had an amazing career. I always think Howard and I do this. Howard Partridge and I do it to each other. I could die now having far exceeded anything I had ever hoped for. Like, so all of this is gravy. To your point, like this moment now with, what we've accomplished or experienced or the mistakes we've made, all of it has led us to right now. And this is all just so gravy to me. But the thing that I'm most proud of right now is Zoom Drain. I wore my Zoom Drain colors today. I think that Zoom Drain is really the culmination of everything that I discovered along the way. I didn't set out as an 8-year-old kid thinking I want to be the queen of a drain cleaning franchise. But as these things came together, I wanted to grow a bigger company. I wanted to really focus on technicians. I wanted to find partners I loved and trusted and move an organization forward. I didn't even know it would be franchising. These things kind of just happened along the way. But to have this entity right now that makes me so proud, and the leadership is so strong, and the franchisees are so wonderful. That is right now my magnum opus. And it's in even better hands on the day to day right now, which is also an accomplishment that we attracted people to come in and really take it to a level that I can't take it. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to brag on my team today.
No, absolutely. You've done great things. You've been involved primarily in the consumer plumbing business, right? I mean, that's how it started. And after your own business with your husband, the family business,
yeah,
Benjamin Franklin, the punctual plumber, and now Zoom Drain, and you continue to evolve and move forward.
And so much of what I've done in my life is what you do in your life, Jim. Someone does something interesting. You call them up and you say, let's have a conversation. Can we record it? And I would write articles, right? Or once upon a time, I did internet radio and I thought, no one's listening to this. I should knock it off. And now we have podcasting. I wish I'd never stopped. I love podcasts. It's really, in my life, replaced magazine and blogs. I listen when I'm walking or running, and I'm learning so much. But I always had this curiosity. How did that guy do that? How did he grow that business? What is he? He seems like an interesting cat. I'm going to call him and talk to him. And so I would say that's what's led to my success. I didn't ever have an original thought. I just noticed what people were doing and what was working and where the traps seemed to lie, and then would try to figure out how to apply that, primarily when it came to the financial pieces too. I mean, there's much smarter people than me when it comes to marketing and administrative and operational stuff. But the basics of the financial pieces really came clear to me, and that I was preaching for sure. All areas of the business obsess me. You know what else is cool, Jim? I wonder if you ever feel this. I wouldn't be as proud of what I do if it were a different industry. Like, you can make money in crypto. Good for you. Go get it. But at the end of the day, there's no product there. There's no problem solved. There's money made, which is fine and great. Do it. But it's so cool to be in an industry where lives are at stake and get better. Do you see what I mean? Like, I'm never not proud of the wake of our industry, where I wouldn't feel like that if I was hawking tobacco.
Well, no, because actually that's not good for people.
Yeah.
But having clean, safe, potable water is, right? So in the industry you're in, we can't afford to have those drains back up because of the waste. It's not good. And everything else, from water filtration to clean pipes, you can go down the list, but even having decent pressure in the shower so we can wash ourselves. It's so important. Water is key to life.
Water is the key to life. And then, all the trades too, they've done their jobs so well that people in the US generally assume it's like a God-given right to have it. Mm-hmm. And they, now I have to pay to have my drains cleaned or my electrician to come out or whatever. And I'm thinking, you should pay top dollar for these things. And, this is, again, my understanding of what goes into it. You go to a manufacturer and you see my husband and son work for Calefi, manufacturer of components, primarily high temperature components for heating and solar. They're made in Italy by these wonderful people. They're distributed all over the world, and the engineering and the care that goes into something this big, how is a contractor discounting their prices when that whole chain of distribution is counting on them to provide? That contractor finally has the moment to get a selling price that's going to provide for that whole chain of distribution. You have a responsibility to be a premium price contractor communicating the value of your services. I'm on my soapbox.
You are. And speaking of that, Ellen, would you say what drives you the most in this industry is helping home service professionals be not just profitable, but be very profitable?
100%. Like you deserve it. Your people deserve it. Your customers deserve the best, and money drives all of this. I was talking before. I grew up in a privileged household. It didn't end up that way. there's,
Things
there's
change,
more
don't
than
they?
I've been rich. I've been poor. Rich is
Riches
better.
to rags, right? That's your story.
I've been riches to rags to riches, and rich is better. But it takes money. Like Zig Ziglar, our pal Zig Ziglar says that money isn't everything, but it's right up there with oxygen on the gotta have it level, right? So money's just the energy flow, but it takes money to do it right, to do it properly. And when you think about what you spend money on, I put the trades up there with the most valuable dollars you'll ever spend is to keep yourself, the internet up, the electricity on at your home, to keep your water clean, good water from bad water, to make sure you're safe and warm in a house with HVAC technicians create weather.
Yes.
Isn't that
Climate in your
amazing?
home, your
Climate
climate
in your
that
home.
you need and deserve.
Yeah. So these basic things that we take for granted are only because the technicians over the years have done such a great job.
Ellen, we've talked about who you are, what you've done. What is your superpower? If there's one thing, what is your superpower?
I would say it is absolutely optimism. I think it gets me into trouble sometimes because people accuse me of being a Pollyanna, but I always know it's going to turn out okay. Even in the rough times, there's going to be a story, there's going to be art, there's going to be um something good that rebounds from the very worst of things. The very worst of things will lead to something amazing and magical. And I know that sometimes in the heat of it, you don't want to hear that, but I absolutely know and believe that there will be some laughter to be had, some story to be written. And I think it is what makes my life so worth living, is just being able to find those really magical and beautiful moments in anything. So sorry if I appear a little Pollyanna, but it's just who I am.
And it's great to have a positive outlook. Really, honestly, for me, one of the number one things I like to hear is, Jim, we have a problem. I'm like, did I hear opportunity? No, Jim, we have a problem. I'm like, no. This is going to be good. What doesn't kill us makes us stronger. We've all heard that.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's true. And people would look at me like I'm crazy. Jim, this is a problem. I said, is the sun going to be colliding with the earth? No. All right, we're good. So tell me about
even if
the opportunity.
Happened,
well, even if that happened, then we have an opportunity to go somewhere else very fast. And so it's the outlook, because some people might say, oh, tell me the problem. Oh, you're right. Let's commiserate about the problem. Oh, we're going out of business, versus, oh, we lost our largest client. What happened? What can we learn from this? And you know what? I bet tomorrow someone's going to call us and hire us, because that's just the way it is if you're positive. It's really true. I can't explain it. It's a law, but you have to be on that wavelength. You have to open yourself up to it and get on there and smile and move forward.
I 100% agree. Or why not? Like if your alternative is to just to continue to whine, which I define as stating the obvious and repeating yourself. Like that's whining. Okay, duly noted. Like the problem, the challenge. Okay, now let's go. I think I shared this with you too. I saw on the Rich Roll podcast, which I totally love. He has really intense, creative, and out there people on it, so I love it. But he had some professor from Harvard on recently, and she said there's a lot of pressure that goes into making a decision, the right decision, the wrong decision. And you make a decision and then you regret it and think, oh, I should have gone that way, with absolutely no evidence that way would have been any better. It could have been way worse. So the intention is to make a decision good, as opposed to make a good decision. which is a big difference, right? So make the
Yes.
decision and then make it good. So there is going to be choices. And I'm not saying like, I know how serious our business is. Someone could die. If you have a truck business, someone could die today. The most dangerous piece of equipment we have is the truck.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not making light of that. But if that's not the situation, let's not make emergencies out of non-emergencies. So how hard is it to find great people? A few more phone calls? Maybe you should take a Dale Carnegie class and learn how to be nicer. Like what are some things that you could do right now? But all those little individual things that one could do to find great people to come work for them, they're not hard. This idea of hard, how hard it is to find. Well, where's the hard in any of it? Maybe it's just time. Maybe it's a couple more things, but it's usually quite easy to make enough change to steer in a better direction, to make a decision good.
Yeah. And I like to use the word simple.
Yeah.
Because when we simplify a process, people are like, I didn't realize that I was overcomplicating it. So for instance, this is big in America. Someone says, I'm 50 pounds overweight and I'll always be overweight. And no matter what I do, I can't lose the weight. And so I question people. I say, are you sure? Because I've never seen a fat corpse, meaning skeleton. Okay. Not corpse. I guess there are some facts that didn't come out right. But my point is if you restrict what goes in, you will shrink. And so some people don't simplify it by saying, well, maybe I should eat a little bit less each day. Maybe I should do some fasting or time restricted eating. Maybe I should walk a little bit more, sleep better. There's all kinds of science now that says, sleep is more important than exercise to lose weight. Who would have thought? People go to the gym, they eat whatever they want, and they get on the treadmill. Most of it's what you're putting into your mind and into your mouth, actually. So these things can be done if we simplify them. Don't get all worked up about it. And it's true in business. There's a process for things. Of course, ask Al Levy. He'll tell you. And
I was just thinking of Al Levy as you were talking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was thinking about Al Levy. Well, and another expression that I learned from Jim Abrams. Jim Abrams taught me, and I think of this every single day. The simpler you make it, the further you can take it. So a big part of growing a bigger company has been to fight fancy. What are the things we don't need? What are the reports no one's looking at? What are the few KPIs that make all the difference? What are the 3 things that every service technician or call taker should do, and make sure those things get done and codified, and that, we drill and train that. Fighting fancy is so important. And, Howard Partridge wrote a book called FTI, Failure to Implement. And his basic premise is, okay, it takes inspiration, information, and implementation. Inspiration is on you. Like that's getting up in the morning and winding yourself up and reading good books and hanging out with positive people and disciplining your mind. Inspiration is finding your why. Information. Do we have enough? Like, don't you really already have enough information? Like if you read Al Levy's book, if you read Michael Gerber's book, you got a good start. And then implementation, that's the one that we get so balled up with doing it maybe perfectly that we don't do anything, or a setback knocks us to the ground. Tommy Mello is my hero for failing fast and getting back at it. Like you could never knock that guy down.
Oh, no.
He would just stand there while an army descended on him. And if he was going to go across the road, he's going to go across the road, and he'll tell the stories of the scars he got in the process. But, he gets knocked down, he gets back up. He doesn't beat himself up over much. He doesn't talk about blame, or he just goes. I really love that about him.
Positivity oozes out of that man.
Yeah. He's not taking it so hard.
Yeah. And he has a lot of characteristics that have come together to bring great success. Honestly, he's a fantastic guy with a great attitude. He's tall, he's good looking, he's got everything, right? I mean, really. He's
and now he's into fitness.
And don't get me wrong, I don't have a man crush on my friend Tommy Mello, but he is a tall man, and when he's on stage and walks into a room, he has a presence and he's positive. He loves everybody. I don't know of anyone who considers him an enemy. And he's really a unique person, especially in the home service space. You and I, Ellen, know a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And wouldn't you say that he stands out? He's like a unicorn in home service. There's a lot of great people who stand out, but he really does stand out.
Yeah, and I think that the other thing to know about him, this is another Jim Abrams thing too. Like if you were to open the doors of his business, you were to look inside, you're going to find dozens of things really wrong with his business. Right. And Jim Abrams used to say that the day we sell this for $100 million, there's going to be 12 fatal problems with this business. See, it's never going to be perfect. Do you have the sales, the profits, and the cash? The most important thing in business, this is something I've really learned the last few years with my partners at Zoom Drain. Don't lose sight of this. The why of any business is to create enterprise value. Now, your personal why is not it's connected, but it's not the same thing. So if your why is to get from here to there, then this vehicle, like Howard says, will drive you in the direction of your dreams. And the intention is to get this vehicle better so that it can deliver sales, profit, and cash. Those are the 3 KPIs of any business, that the enterprise value increases. So our franchisees, their enterprise value has to increase. So the franchisors' enterprise value can increase. Why? Because then we have more options. We have more options to create wealth, to do good, to reward our team members, to do nicer things for our customers, all of that. So I think that's what's, and that could still have a lot of things wrong with it and deliver that. So we're not looking for perfection. We're looking for improvement, progress, not perfection.
Oh, absolutely. And those key KPIs are important. Without those, it doesn't matter. However, many other factors relate to the top KPIs because you have to have a good working environment. You have to make sure your team members are positive and happy. And all that kind of pushes up to the top, right? It starts at the top and comes down, but you have to have a culture and you have to have decent equipment and vehicles and a nice place to work and benefits. And Tommy talks about that all the time. You need to not just take care of your external customer, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the homeowner, but your internal customer, the team members.
Yeah, let me talk on that a second too, because, I would travel the country. It's funny too, Jim, like 25, 30 years ago, if there was someone with a $5 million company, they were iconic. Now that's a Tuesday for some companies. Yeah. It was just, and I'd cross the country, to go find out, what are you doing? And then when I was working with Benjamin Franklin, it really dawned on me, I'm in over my skis. Like I said, yes, sure. Do you want to run this company? Yeah, I do. And I'm like, I have no business doing this. Imposter, totally. So I went out to got in the truck, ride shotgun in the truck. I've been on almost 200 ride-alongs. I sit side by side. Here's what I know, like I know. Your frontline people know what's wrong with your company and they know how to fix it. And they'll fix it if you engage them. 100% of the time, we're doing something stupid from the ivory tower. And then you go ask your team members, well, how come you're not buying in? How come you're not doing this or whatever? And they tell you something really obvious to them as to why it's stupid. And you're like, maybe I should have checked with them or gotten some feedback before we made some company-wide initiative that doesn't make any sense at all. So over and over in my life, I've been humbled and awed by the front line. And just like, if you're going to get something out of our podcast today, go on a ride along. I know there's technology that's making it like you don't have to go on a ride along. You can listen in on the call. All that is fantastic. But the love is in the cab. That's the shotgun. It's the shotgun moment where you're just talking and you're riding to the job and it's just the two of you. That's a really good moment to have with team members. And none of us do enough of that.
Yeah, you need to be out on the front lines. I remember once years ago, and I've never worked out in the field in home service. I've been in marketing and sales, more of a white collar world. But I remember once the CEO was walking around the office and I'm thinking, why isn't he at his desk? And I said, what are you doing? And he said, MBW, MBWA.
Hey, MBWA.
Yeah. And I said, what does that mean? He says, managing by walking around. I'd never heard of that before. I don't even hear much of that anymore, but it stuck with me. He was observing what we were doing, asking questions, because when you're at the top, it can be lonely and it's foolish if you don't know what's going on at the bottom.
Yeah.
And so ride along with your team members, figure out what's going on, talk to the homeowner out there. And I find the most successful home service businesses do a lot of that.
That made me think of my partner, Jim Crenity at Zoom Drain. He always has an ear open. He can, if there's calls happening, if the phone's ringing or not ringing, he'll say, check the phone lines or the phone's up. Like he'll do that twice a day, just to make sure that the internet is connected if the phones aren't ringing enough. And then he'll listen in. He hears absolutely everything. So even though you're talking to him and walking around, he's always got like a connection, a thread to what's happening on the front line there. And it's pretty impressive.
Ellen, this has been
I know.
It's been a fantastic meeting. What have we missed? Is there anything that we haven't touched upon before we conclude today?
I come into this with an intention, like if I could leave you with one thing, it would be this, especially if you're younger. I mean, you and I have the benefit of age, but if you're young and you're in this industry and you found yourself here, don't listen to people tell you how hard it is. The actual work, when you watch technicians do what they do, that's to be celebrated. But the business side of it is an adventure. It's a joy. It's a privilege to find that pressure and to stand up to it and just embrace that, because I love this industry so much and I see so much bright future for all of us in it. So thanks for the soapbox and the conversation.
Ellen, as always, fantastic. And Ellen, we're going to put your assets in the show notes, meaning if you want to connect with Ellen, all of her information's there, links to her books and other resources. Ellen, thank you so much for joining me today on the program.
Thank you, Jim.